Hey, welcome to what amounts to a less than beautiful morning out here at the River House. We are a brisk 32 degrees with nearly 100% humidity and a light, let's call it rain, but only just barely. In fact, the snow line is just above the house. So we have had almost 2 inches of rain here in the last 30 some odd days. I have got, my trusses are on their way, right? And I know it's just construction time, but they're going to be here last week. But now they're going to be here Tuesday. So I'm hoping by Thursday. But I'm really hoping we can get some covering on it. I'm really hoping we get some covering on it here for the winter, even if it's just partial. But I think we can get it up. The thing is, though, I got standing water. I got puddles on the second floor, and of course, it's soaking through and dripping on things. And while I can't keep the water off the main floor, and I can't keep the water off the second floor that's exposed to the weather, I can go and deal with the puddles, the standing water, drill some drain holes, but that's just going to put it down below. So my thought today was that I would go out and I'd try to stick some plastic to the bottom of the second story, and then once it tents and I find out where that water is going to be, I can poke a strategic drain hole and divert that water out the side of the house. But as long as I was doing that, I thought it'd be good to talk about and show you what our zip system siding and Avantech flooring, how it's been holding up. You know, because we spent quite a bit more than regular OSB, and so here's a good chance for us all to have a look at it and sort of gauge, hey, how does it handle standing water? Is it still maintaining its strength? And if I can find a chunk of regular OSB around here, can we maybe compare it to what regular OSB might have looked like in a similar situation? And I can tell you, it would not be in great shape at this point. So that's today's goals. Stick some stuff up to the ceiling, divert some water, drill some holes through my subfloor to drain it away, and see what we come up with. So we had tried to grow stuff here last year, and every bit of it died. And it occurred to me that this floor is uninsulated and open to the outside air. This is really just one layer of it's not even OSB. One layer of old school MDF is all that the flooring is, open to the outside air temperature. And I think all of our stuff froze up, even though I had it covered. You see, for these trees, they do have to have a winter. You can't take their winter away from them, or they'll get out of whack and essentially, well, I guess die. So I need them to get cold. I can even let them get below freezing, but their roots can't freeze solid, and I think I did that last year. So I've got 2 sheets of dumpster foam. I got 2 sheets of found 2-inch thick expanded foam. I get that down on the floor to give it a measure of protection that way. Dad thinks I might want to double that up. I do have the foam to do that, so maybe I'll put 4 inches down. And then I have built that is a thermostat for a electric baseboard wall heater. So it's a 20 amp thermostat, essentially, 30 amp thermostat. And the contactor in there is that wide, big old chunk of copper, clunk, clunk, old school stuff. And I'm using that to drive an outlet. So once it gets cold enough, it turns on the outlet. And I've just got Christmas lights in there right now. Eventually, which would probably be enough heat if this was covered maybe, but maybe eventually we'll have a regular light and then probably a UV glow light, and then I'll cover this with a blanket. But anyways, that's what we got going. These are my pots. What I did is I had some of the scrap that was about 7 feet long. It's not particularly useful. You know, it's just drain tile. You can see the light. Can you? You can't. Anyways, it's just vented drain tile, and you know, it's not particularly useful when it gets that short. So I cut it into chunks, slid it down the sides on the table saw, and then I've cut a circle of plywood, and it's held together with tie wire. Well, I've had some issues. I wanted, in histories especially, I want them to have nice deep root systems, so I wanted them to have more height, but anytime I got the disposable flower pots, in order to get that height, they got much wider, and I don't really need much wider. The other thing I've had problems with is when I go to get them out of the flower pots and then all the root systems fall apart. So I thought this way I could just untwist or cut the ties, and then the two things would open like a clamshell, and I could plant this entire plug in there. Anyways, it might have been dramatic overkill, solving problems that don't exist on my part. And then that bottle right there is some plant starter liquid fertilizer, which was described, oops, set the mousetrap off, which was described to me by someone who ran a nursery as cheating. He said, get this stuff, it's almost like cheating. So I'm hopeful that we'll get this stuff all rooted. And then those cuttings were dipped in that purple honey-like root hormone stuff. So I'm really hoping. And then that, I think that's a noble fir. Anyways, Shay was on a field trip and one of the kids ripped a tree out of the ground and he was upset. I think he quietly snuck it home in his backpack. And it had a pretty hard day, but it does have one sprig down there that has remained green throughout the summer, and he's not been very good at watering it. So Dad took over. If it's going to live, we're going to give it a shot. So Dad took over the tree, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, what the heck? Today is not a day of accomplishing a lot of things, so there you get to see Shay's green thumb in action. And by Shay's green thumb in action, you get to see mine. Okay, so this is the mess we're dealing with. Standing water. And for this section, we've already got holes drilled through it somewhere. Occasionally they attract. There, it started. It had gotten packed up with junk. There it goes. I didn't notice those had plugged. This must be one here too. I'll have to put little wood blocks around them to help stop the bigger chunks from getting hung up in there. But in theory, this one's already draining. And that drains down into the cellar, just onto the rocks down there. There's more holes in that. I'm not sure where they are. I'll have to sweep it. But you can see it causes this water to back up into here. Now the downside is right above us we're getting another big puddle forming. It does show you how the Avantech stuff is holding up even at these edges that are submerged. Well, on the long edges I can't feel any rising at all. On the short edges, I can feel it swelling just a small amount. But this stuff's been exposed since we laid it down. This has been months now. Months and months and months. Ugh, look at this puddle in here. Months and months and months. There's also a giant puddle above this floor. I think it says something, the fact that they're not leaking everywhere as well. Well, it turns out the big bundle of VisQueen that I thought I had was an empty box. Good job, me. And which means I didn't buy any, because I thought I had a half a roll, and I clearly don't. And you know, it's rural Montana, they're not open now. So I've got some lumber tarps that I've salvaged. I've got some old plywood that I can maybe use. But let's go up above and see what it looks like up there, and we'll see the scope of the problem. And we'll let this train go by. Unless you like trains, in which case, trains. So we got a big puddle there. Puddle in here. Now for this one, I can pull up the cover on Shay's trap door, let it drain out there. This one we're a little trapped by. I could probably find where it's deepest and drain this one into the stairwell. I bet that would work. And then just get it down below. Oh, look at the slush. Big puddle right here. I knew about this one. There'll be no stretching plastic or anything. It'll just rip right free. It'll just rip right off, so. It's gonna be get it covered for the winter or leave it exposed. Those are gonna be our only options. But you can see that the subfloor is holding up pretty well. Considering I've got a 3/8 inch thick layer of slush on top of it. All right, let's get some of this figured out. Maybe we can make some wooden diversions, mining flume style. Did get a whole bunch of 1x in the last load from Dad. Maybe I could make up some V-shaped boards and get this stuff out that way. Well, that didn't work. Crap. Well, it's not elegant. But it is working. So much for my mining flume idea. I got another piece or two of this stuff. Oh no, do I? I don't know. I think I do. But, you know, that's going to be at least 30-40 gallons up there, plus anything else that falls. It's got to help. We're at full-blown snow rain, snain. We're full-blown snain right now, and maybe I can bring that Avantech stuff and I can store it in here, because I suspect this is going to stop dripping in here. Alright, so that's one down. I think this is all going to be a whole lot harder than I thought. Especially without plastic. Man, does anybody else have to pee? So to manage the water from the second floor, I've designed these. They're basically ports. This happens to be the right size. That random hunk of pipe, and that's what I'm using, just random junk around here. And this is an adjustable. Unfortunately, I had to cut the diamond end off. It was for a hand crank bit set, but do what you gotta do. But it's an adjustable, and so I make these up. The last ones I made were for a chunk of old garden hose. Each one, of course, is different. Then I screw them through the floor from up above, and I jam my hose in there. Of course, the wood swells up as soon as the water starts, and it does a great job of trapping the hoses in place. Now it's just flowing. This one has already diverted most of the water from its puddle, but hundreds of gallons of water has definitely now been diverted off the floors. I've got this one over here, draining that. It does nothing whatsoever for the stuff that's still, hitting the floors. It's just, at least I'm draining the puddles out, and by draining the puddles out, it condenses that water into around the drains, and so I don't end up with so many widespread leaks. And this one's just been running and running and running now. But then I went under the house and I heard a disconcerting noise. Not quite the yeah. Frickin' die going down my own stairs. Not quite the telltale pitter-patter of individual rain drips, but something that sounded a lot more like filling a swimming pool. As far as the water draining through the holes in the floor, that's really NBT. This is what I was hoping not to see, but obviously, I think it's going to be a recurring problem down here. I was hoping not to see the water coming out of the rock, and the reason for that is, I did cut those grooves up there. I've pulled the topsoil back. I've given the water every chance to stay on top here rather than going down between the layers. That is definitely going to cause me humidity issues down here. And I don't really know what, if anything, can ever be done about it. Such is life. I don't really know what I can do about this. It's not unexpected. I just kind of hoping. But maybe I can lay some black plastic out. Once I've got these floor drains, that's not necessary anymore. We can lay some black plastic out and at least trap that humidity and whatever mold issues might be with it, sort of between the rock and the plastic, and then it'll seep out through the cracks the way it's seeping in through the cracks. I think it's got to be a fact of life with this house. Other people have got flowing water under their houses and they figured out how to solve it, so why can't I? It briefly stopped raining, so I went ahead and I got a few of them made now. I don't know, 3 or 4. Draining the biggest puddles that I could see. It also feels like such a complete waste of my time. So I went out and I built this platform. I've only got it stuck to the rocks with just weight and wood jammed in cracks. But in order for it to move, it's going to have to rip those 2 legs off. I don't see it doing that. But this will be so we can put a ladder up, because, well, with the house sitting as high as it is and the ground and I don't think my ladders are big enough. And if my ladder is big enough, it's the big wobbly aluminum one, which is pretty awful. So if I want to use the old fiberglass one, then I needed, which isn't nearly as tall, I needed a better stand. So I figured this here would work for that. And we could gain access to the building in between that front rafter there. I might need to do a similar thing on that side. There's definitely going to be some difficulties when it comes to doing the gable ends, because this thing is so damn high. I can rent a man lift. The little man lift, which is more than big enough to do this, is $150 a day, and the big man lift is $280. Look at all that. It's like you're in space, but I'm just going crazy, itching to accomplish something. I just feel like everything is on hold. Everything is on hold until this roof is on. Spooky. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up what has been a largely pointless day out here at the River House. I got a handful of worthwhile things done, all of which probably added up to less than an hour. Other than that, I've walked up and down the hill 6-7 times after various tools in order to find various bits and pieces to build variously stupid things. But we're doing whatever we're doing. I've got water being diverted. I've got window headers that we had accidentally left without the wedges driven in. I have driven in the wedges. Holes have been drilled, and wait till you see this feat of engineering. I mean, I don't want to talk up what you're about to behold, but dang, ain't that something? Woo. Well, I had a whole lot of water coming down and through the double walls, and then it was hitting the window sills, flowing out, not the window sills, the window banding, flowing out, dripping back on the other window sill and going everywhere. So I built that monster. Really quite something there. It's probably pointless, and I imagine I will need to replace all of the window strips, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but the quality of plywood during the pandemic, I think they're kicking out stuff that would normally be culled as stuff. So it's dropped a bit. But the only other thing I can think of is I've got some vent screens with big wire that need small wire cut to patch them. If I'm down doing crap like that, then you know that I've literally got nothing I can think of doing. And I'm sure there's bunches of stuff. Oh, I could have been fixing those. Well, I might spend some time working on those. Well, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but somehow, in some way, we ended up, see the gaps? We held the rafters up, but somehow kicked the joist hangers down. Dang it! I could have been spending my time on that. That is something that needs to be done. I mean, not till I sheetrock, but at least it's not a pointless endeavor. So I believe what I'm going to have to do is cold chisel off the heads. I bet I don't have a cold chisel here. Cold chisel off the heads of the screws, because many of them are in there at an angle from before the floor was put down. And then remove those braces, those joist hangers rather, cut them off shorter so that I can hold them all the way up, then hold them all the way up, and then reattach them. Shoot! Idiot. I might take one off, or I might see just what it takes to take one off, but I think pretty much we're done. So from this master of hydraulic engineering to all of you, thanks for watching.